flailing, and General Motors bailout is reeling. A government watchdog actually says General Motors stock now would have to soar to nearly $100 a share. $100 a share simply for taxpayers to break even. Oh, by the way, right now it's below 40. But Ford, well, they didn't take a penny from Uncle Sam, and now it's hiring. Its sales and profits are soaring. David Asmus says more proof that we don't need bailouts. And the car coach, Lauren Fix, she's here as well. David, let's start with you.
All right. Well, first of all, Ford did take some money in terms of those energy subsidies. It took a few $1 billion of that, but generally they weren't bailed out. They have been making extraordinary cars. I've been driving a Ford Explorer around. It drives like a Cadillac. It's a terrific car, but also the consumers have been putting off their purchases for a long time. This is the perfect time for car companies to be selling into this market because consumers were hungry for a new car. They've been holding on to their cars for 10, 12 years. So it's a perfect time, but you got to credit Ford. They have been making magnificent cars. I think Lauren would agree with that, but she has better perspective than I do.
Lauren, you know what? It's a perfect storm for cars, for the automobile makers. The average car about 12, 13 years old, a lot of 0% financing, a lot of, in fact, a lot of junky loans out there. But Ford is still outperforming. They're taking market share. It is the preferred product of the public. Does that have anything to do with the fact that maybe management that was wise enough not to take this big bailout might also be smart enough to know what people want?
Well, they do know what people want. They're doing a Global One platform, and I have to credit Alan Mulally. He really is the genius behind all of this. That means that, you know, he's really said, you know, what we're selling in Europe as far as chassis and undercarriages, we're going to use that here and save money. That was one thing that they did that was right. Also, remember, the F-150 or the F-Series truck has been selling for 46 years as the #1 seller. And by not taking the TARP money, which I know they took a little bit, but by not taking nearly what GM took, the results have been the Fusion, the F-150, the Focus, the Fiesta. Their product is amazing, and they really have good marketing. They're hiring 3,000 new people, of which most of those are white-collar workers in the IT end. So you're watching huge growth, and they've increased to 0.9% market share so far this year. That's unheard of, and I have to give Ford kudos for that.
Can I just talk about that one part about their hiring new people? Unfortunately, a lot of those people are going to be hiring are not going to be American citizens because they're people who need expertise in engineering and mathematics and stuff that our school, you know, you talk about the president earlier. The president talks a lot about education. He did today, but he still opposes efforts to modernize our school system, to get the unions out who want to oppose that modernization. I know that's another story.
Yeah, that's another story.
But Ford is focusing on hiring people. Unfortunately, we're not turning out that much.
But like David, well, let me just ask you though. The thing with Ford and General Motors, do you think General Motors, because government motors, as the old saying goes, you think they were hampered because they were taking marching orders from the White House? Did that make them less competitive?
They would deny it, by the way. Officially, they have denied it. In private talks, they sort of give you a wink-wink and a nudge-nudge when you say, come on, you wouldn't be pursuing some of these electric projects the way you are if it wasn't for pressure from the White House. I think, Lauren, you'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. They put all their money in one basket on that Chevy Volt. And, David, you and I have discussed this multiple times in the past. I was against the cash for clunkers. I was against this Volt project. It seems like they take on everything as whatever the government told them to do. And you're right, it is a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. If you ask GM directly, they'll say, no, there's no hampering at all from the government being involved in our business. But, hey, when they own 61% of your company in the beginning, it is going to make an impact. So they made great fuel-efficient cars and tried to shove EV cars down our throat and hybrid cars. And the sales have basically said what people don't want them.
People
and you
like
can't
those
make
big
US
trucks that you
citizens buy
talked about
cars
earlier. You know, let me ask you, how long do you think this is going to continue? Because I think it's got room to grow. I think, you know, the average car being like over a dozen years old, as long as financing is as easy as it's been, I think people are going to go out and get a new car.
I would disagree with you a little bit.
Let Lauren answer, and then let's get your pick.
Well, I think we're going to get very close to that 16 million cars. I think you're looking at good incentives. Every manufacturer wants a piece of the market share. And I think that Ford is going to continue to take a chunk of that market share. So I do think we're going to see a little bit of growth. We're not going to go over 16 million. I don't believe so.
And again, well, the point that I would make is that I think unless we get a real growth strategy for the economy, after people go through replacing those cars that they've been putting off for years and years, and now they see the good cars coming to Ford, they're replacing cars, then I think it's going to slow down. Even Ford said that they expect Europe to return profitability by, quote, mid-decade. So Europe isn't going to be growing for another 2 years, and we may not be growing for another 2 years.
How many cars are going to sell in China, though, this year? 31 million. That's a pretty good market. That sucks it up. Brazil's going to buy more cars than
if Brazil keeps growing, there's doubt about that.
Well, we'll see. But the one thing we do know, Ford did it right, and they're being rewarded for it. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.